Hi everyone, I'm Nat, I'm a horse witch, and today we're going to get into both of those things. So welcome if you're new here, welcome back if you're returning, and let's get into it. So today I want to talk about a ritual that I did for Kyle. He had a futurity in the beginning of September, and I really wanted him to do well. So I'm going to break down this ritual into small pieces, and I'm going to show you what I did every step of the way. I know that spellcraft isn't something that a lot of YouTube witches show. There's definitely kind of a taboo about showing it. And this ritual is over, the event is over, and I don't feel any qualms or anything about sharing this with you. And I think it'll help people who are horsey and non-horsey alike to show what kind of goes into a spell and ritual and all of that. The first thing I did was cleanse my altar with moon water and lemon essential oil. So I took everything off and wiped it down. The next thing I did was I made an anointing oil. And what I wanted to do with this oil was I created it and then I used it to oil the halter. And I will show you how I did that now. Okay, I'm going to try something a little different today. And I'm going to show you what I am putting in and how I am making the oil that I am going to use to anoint and spread on Kyle's halter for his futurity. So my base is going to be sweet almond oil because that's what I have on hand. And I am putting in a little bit of essential oil. I am using Christmas tree oil, but it is a blend of fir and spruce. I'm using it as a substitution for pine for prosperity, success, and grounding. Next, I am using basil for wealth and success. I had some that needed to be trimmed because I have this little asshole eating my plants. So basil for wealth and success. Next, I have cinnamon for success and luck. Mint for communication. A dog hair. Kody's in there too. Purple nettle for happiness. It is a competition, but at the end of the day, it's not what really matters. And bay for success. Where are my bay leaves? So I have all my ingredients in here. It's in a double boiler. I'm not doing a very good job filming this. I'm gonna leave it to simmer for a little while. And after this, I'm going to drain the oil out of all of that. And I am going to rub it into the leather of Kyle's halter. I also am going to add a few drops of Fast Luck oil and some success. And again, we're gonna let that simmer. I'm gonna mash it around, and when it's done, it's gonna charge on my altar in a crystal grid, and then it'll be rubbed on the altar. I used pine essential oil for prosperity, success, and grounding. And I did not have pine, so I substituted Christmas tree. I used fresh basil for wealth and success. I used bay for success, cinnamon for success and luck, mint for communication. I wanted the handler to be able to communicate with Kyle and vice versa. And I used purple nettle for happiness. And I used a base oil of sweet almond oil. While that was simmering in a double boiler, what I did was I then wiped down the halter with the moon water. All right. The next stage of this is I'm going to take this halter and I am going to wipe it down with some moon water. And I don't know if I have. Some of this I might have footage of, and some of this I might not have because I forgot. Next, what I did is I set up a crystal grid with different crystals and runes. And the runes I used were Wunjo, Pertho, and Ewaz. So Wunjo for winning, Pertho for luck, and Ewaz literally means horse. So, and then in my oil, all right, this is a little messy. I just don't know how to put a halter in a crystal grid. So this is what it is. So we have a depiction of Epona. For the runes, we have Wunjo for winning, Pertho for luck, and Ewaz, which literally means horse. The crystals are pyrite for luck, citrine for success, aventurine for good fortune, amazonite to soothe nerves, mostly mine, moss agate and tree agate for abundance and communication, copper to dispel negative energy, and that's not even in there yet, and feather agate for emotional balance. I also have some wild horse magnesite and wild horse jasper, which are good for grief, since this was Jake's halter. And I'm going to add the copper to this and let this sit for a little while. So in the grid, what I included I included the 2 spell candles, I included the runes, and I included the following crystals. I used pyrite for luck, citrine for success, aventurine for good fortune, amazonite to soothe nerves, mostly mine, moss agate for abundance and communication, copper to dispel negative energy, and feather agate for emotional balance. Kyle is a very emotional kind of horse, and so a lot of my training focuses on his emotional regulation and teaching him how to emotionally regulate. And so I felt that was important to include. All right, here is the final working. I have a black candle inscribed with Kyle's barn name and registered name, and a bind rune I created. I have an orange candle for success with the same thing, his registered name, and the bind rune. I have some basil leaves that I'm going to burn during this working. And then I am going to set the halter outside under the full moon tonight. And we'll see how tomorrow goes. Next, what I did was I wrote my intentions on bay leaves. And I did 3 or 4 of them. I might have pictures of that I'll put in there. And I let them sit on the grid as well. Next, I lit candles for the grid. I used a black candle for Kyle because he is black, and I etched his registered name and his barn name on the candle. And I used orange for success. And I etched basically my intentions on that one. I let those burn all the way down, charging with the grid. Then I burnt the bay leaves that I had written my intentions on. And then I oiled the halter with the ritual oil that I had made. And I don't believe I got footage of that because by that time it was getting kind of late. It was the night of a full moon, and I charged the halter and the charm that I made with Jake's hair in it under the full moon. And it was successful. He didn't get the scores I was hoping for, but no one in his division did. It was a very odd futurity with a very odd judge. The 2-year-olds scored way higher for some odd reason than the yearlings, but he did win his division. So overall, it was a successful day, and I am happy to be able to share this with you. I have a clip of him going and some pictures that I'm going to include in this.
Oh, you know what? That was the only yearling futurity.
Yeah, it was.
She needs. You guys got to remind me this. She needs a ribbon. Where's our gal?
Oh, she'll be back. She has like 5 minutes.
Okay, but remind me, okay?
So she wins.
But we could have got a picture. This is divination.
And that's my video. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that I was able to show you and break down kind of how I built a ritual around manifesting this and what I wanted. So please hit like and subscribe. We have another Flip Through Friday coming soon, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.